girl's chasing me. In front of me, my next girl's facing me. Awaiting me, the lights in my sight, but I can't cross these enemy lines. I'm behind.
You know, I remember a time, not too long ago.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Cry of Fear.
Top of the morning to you laddies! My name is Jacksepticeye, and welcome to Limbo.
What's up YouTube, what's going on? Corey Kinchin here, and welcome to Mad Father. This game...
When it felt like indie game development was the beating heart of online horror.
Oh, what are you? Oh god! Ah! Ah! What the fuck? Ah! What the fuck is hell?
Jesus fucking Christ!
I remember when Five Nights at Freddy's was seen as the scariest game in years. I remember when Venge and the Ink Machine popularized the chapter format. Not a day goes by where I don't wish horrible things to happen to whoever popularized this stupid fucking format for video games. God damn it. I remember the original indie horror game that sparked the first fan works, entirely built off of its own engine. I think the indie game scene, especially indie horror, is a special part of the internet that invites all walks of life to one commonly shared experience. We all love screaming at jump scares in video games. Indie horror hasn't just given us some of the best scares and thrills in ages, but has also massively inspired others to create. The bar is constantly being pushed to new limits, and the monsters to come will be cemented in pop culture as icons of the horror genre, standing on par with even the legends of cinema history. But what makes a horror game experience a bit more intense and exciting than just watching a movie is the fact that you, the player, are surviving within the horror experience. You control what happens, so the horror is personally happening to you. That is why first-person horror games are so effective in this scene. It puts the player front and center of the action. Indie horror may have had a surge in popularity and namesake in the 2010s, but it's been around for a while, and it really sparked in popularity in the Let's Play scene as something new and different to entice an audience to a game that wasn't a AAA title, but rather a smaller development team or even like a singular person that created something from the ground up. And in some cases, generate more scares, more iconic monsters, and more entertainment than, say, a giant game studio. For a lot of those in the scene, independent development comes with a personal challenge to see if you can make something from nothing with no restriction or guidelines. And also probably picking up RPG Maker for the first time. And it's kind of humanizing to think about how these products of nostalgia, for me, were made at the hands of just some bored game developer that didn't want to work under some big game development team and put something together through pure, unlimited creativity and drive. It's no wonder, even after all this time, that indie horror is still respected and hyped up to this day. But something weird was happening going into 2015. It was during the rise of Five Nights at Freddy's popularity in an effort to mayhaps replicate that success. It was during this time that developers found a goldmine, an algorithmic explosion for their projects. And all they had to do was just cater to the right crowd. Children! Wait, what? So, when I was heavily invested in indie horror, watching both PewDiePie and Markiplier's Let's Plays, I was both a child in middle school, but also paranoid as fuck, because back then, horror wasn't all black toys and rainbows as it is today. I was deep in creepypasta shit, so it was actually just like hyper-realistic blood and cartoon characters killing themselves. and Slender Man.
Convinced he was real, they stabbed Lightner 19 times, leaving her for dead in the woods, hoping to impress Slender Man.
As you can tell, I grew up just fine. Given that, as a child, I was watching Amnesia, Outlast, and SCP Scream compilation number 267, what I am now seeing people play or watch gameplay of nowadays, it really just makes me sit back and wonder, like, hey, where's all the blood? Okay, that's not the question. That would be an insane thing to ask. What I'm actually asking is, why is everything so cute? Like, I grew up shitting my pants to this. But apparently the new scariest monsters that are making people lose their minds and piss in fear are Wendy's, Grover on fentanyl, Pink Gumby, the Play-Doh I ate and shat out in perfect condition when I was 5, and an anorexic blue cat. Why is everything so colorful? You know how in FNAF, we never actually see anything horrifically graphic happen? And in some ways, most of FNAF's horror elements comes from the implied horror of its story. Well, when I was a kid, I was watching Outlast Let's Play, and I watched this guy named Eddie Gluskin cut someone clean down the grundle. We are not the same. Okay, but in all seriousness, I do think that there are some positive things to come out of expanding the demographic of horror to be more inclusive to all age groups. For one, it gives more leeway in creating terror in different environments that aren't just like dark, creepy, scary woods, or dark, creepy mental hospital, or dark, creepy house, or dark, creepy city. It actually gives the opportunity to try and find horror in the most unlikely places, like a children's pizzeria, or a toy factory, or a cute little pink pixel game. It's kind of a cool subversion of expectation that actually leads to more creative ways of being scary in an environment that is not conventionally scary. I think also putting horror in the greater narrative of context clues and lore elements, rather than being like outright in-your-face disturbing, actually is beneficial to people's media literacy skills, and putting these clues together to make the imagination run wild with what horrors are actually going on here. I think the horrifying manifestations of what the human mind can come up with through just theory crafting is a great way to gauge horror, by allowing your audience to generate the horror in their own head instead of outright showing them. It's a great implication of show don't tell. And when trying to make something that welcomes all audiences, including younger audiences, a lot of showing and dropping hints to what is going on rather than directly be disturbing with something graphic is not only more engaging but also more fun to speculate on as a community. And you know, as someone who, even when I was like 8 years old and like Coraline was my favorite movie ever, and honestly like Coraline is borderline a horror movie for children, I say this from my own personal experience that there are kids who are interested in horror, that even like horror. Even if, for the longest time, horror has been kind of marketed as something for adults, I don't think that there's anything wrong with introducing horror elements into kids' media, or even creating horror media with a younger demographic in mind. When you think about it, how, you know, indie horror has been discovered and engaged with throughout the years, through Let's Play channels that garner a younger audience, to even back when creepypasta was big and attracted middle school me, horror media has always been an attractive, new, edgy genre for those going through experimental and progressive maturity phases in their life. And with that newfound teen angst and edge, horror becomes a safe space to explore the things you fear. The world is already like full of so many scary things that you can't comprehend or understand, and even as an adult, I am still mortified of the incomprehension of the existence of everything. And so horror is a good way to make sense of something inherently terrifying and unknown, which explains why young people would like it so much. They're not just safely conquering hypothetical terror, but also making sense of it. It's a build of endurance and character, and who's to say that that's a bad thing? With that being said though, these aren't horror games. These are spooky games for babies. I miss Eddie Gluskin cutting peepees off. Give me petrifying gay shit. So I'm sure if you were paying attention to my previous comparison examples, or you're just reading the title of the video, you know where this is going. I want to talk about Poppy Playtime, a series that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. While there are great horror elements in Poppy Playtime and great horror moments and monsters, I think on a constructive level, Poppy Playtime is a fucking mess. And it's really disappointing because initially it didn't start out that way. When the first chapter dropped and we saw Huggy Wuggy emerge from the darkness and chase you through the cramped, claustrophobic vents, I have to admit, that kinda got me the first time. Huggy and the build-up to his reveal as a monster was extremely well done. But in the 4 years since the first game, Poppy Playtime has been through a lot of development. Now we have 4 chapters, with chapter number 5 coming next year, each giving us a new cast of characters, a TV head doctor, robot teachers, beanie babies, yarn lion, the hungry caterpillar, rabbit ain't gonna sleep 'cause of y'all, so you ain't gonna sleep 'cause of rabbit, and a weird doll, who you forget this entire game is named after, actually. Also, I guess the other mother is here. What the fuck is happening? While the smart thing to do here is to wait until the release of all of the chapters to get a final game retrospective, complete with a lore breakdown, I have a tendency to not do smart things. So we're just gonna take a look at what we have today. And if anything comes out after this video's release, don't expect me to put all of this back on. I already look fucking stupid as is. So let's discuss. This is Poppy Playtime.
P-O-P-P-Y, I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y, I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y, I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y, that's me.
So, when looking into the development of Poppy Playtime and the people behind the project, I was surprised to learn that before the blue noodled arm monster with teeth, before this Wendy's looking ass doll, before all this Toy Factory lore nonsense, Zach and Seth Bellinger were just 2 brothers with a dream. A dream to make Minecraft animations. Before Mob Entertainment became an independent game studio, Enchanted Mob was the YouTube channel that was part of a popular genre of 3D animation at the time. Minecraft animation channels are a rabbit hole in its own right, but all you need to know right now is that Enchanted Mob is one of the top contenders in the genre, having one of the biggest channels and some of the most popular videos. Seth was the main animator of the channel for a while, and it was primarily his brother Zach that ran management. And Zach ran Enchanted Mob as his own kind of project label, in which other channels would umbrella under as a sort of related separate project. One of those popular projects include Zam Animation, the biggest and currently the most active channel. Zam Animation is run by a different set of brothers, one who is also named Zach, and the other is Micah Preciado. In addition to collaborations on projects together, the decision was made in 2020 to incorporate Zam Animation into Enchanted Mob as a kind of subsidiary project. Now, since both channels rely on Minecraft and 3D pixel art as the stylization choice of animation, you'd think that a lot of their videos would center around Minecraft, you know? The game. And in the beginning now being like 10 years ago, God, I am fucking old, Minecraft was the main focus. But in modern times, Zam and Enchanted Mob have been incorporating other popular media within their Minecraft style, primarily Five Nights at Freddy's, more specifically getting their big break with music videos of FNAF fan songs such as Survive the Night. Also, apparently making weird shipping content with indie horror characters with, how you say, circus baby being their subject of eye candy.
There's no place,
Then why did you draw him like this?
Which is weird because
That's a minor.
And well, I guess since their own games are now popular, you might as well just throw Poppy Playtime in there too. And Amazing Digital Circus for some reason, I guess. Apparently there's a partnership with, what is happening? So yeah, these guys have Minecraft and indie animation in a vice grip. I mean, and not to sound rude, but like, most of what they make is really just like kiddie content slop that your kid stumbles upon when you put an iPad in their face and YouTube is on autoplay.
9 months. 9 months! I could have had a baby in that time!
necessarily wrong with that. Like, get your bag, man. It's not like their animations are, like, bad. I just feel like it's being wasted a little bit. It's no wonder they are the most popular in the genre, and they also have guest star voices like Dawko. So it's not like these guys are just nobodies that only cater to children. These channels are someone's childhood. People who were inspired to learn animation themselves likely looked up to the Bellingers and the Preciados, and they're probably like, man, I want to animate in that Minecraft style too. And this was the case for one aspiring creator by the name of Ekrocoaster. Okay, I'm just gonna get this out of the way because this was one of the many compound effects that made people turn on Poppy Playtime in its heyday. And although I have sympathies for Ethan, in retrospect, this whole thing is really dumb YouTube drama shit that was fought over by a bunch of stupid teenagers. Ekrocoaster was also an animator in the Minecraft space, making Minecraft fan animations for Bendy and the Ink Machine, being heavily inspired by Enchanted Mob. Around the time that Ekrocoaster was creating content, Zam and Enchanted Mob had another side project called Animation Sins, which is a CinemaSins parody and their flagship series, Everything Wrong With. But instead of movies, it was with independent animation. Now, personally, I find this format to be low-key, a little weird, and kind of mean. It's one thing to criticize the works of Hollywood and the movie industry. They have money, endless resources, unlimited access to technology, and sometimes have their projects platformed by giant corporations. Criticizing mainstream entertainment is like punching up. However, doing the same thing CinemaSins does, but like with independent artists who have no money, a skeleton crew, and just starting out learning how to animate, and then just ranking how many sins these indie animation startup projects have, it just feels really scummy, especially since the founders of this channel are popular monopolies of the genre of Minecraft animation, punching down on their own underlings and peers who looked up to them and wanted to learn animation to be just like them. And some of the things they had to say about Ekrocoaster's content specifically just felt really hostile and targeted.
I think this is a good indicator of how much effort will be put into this video. Why is the entire video blurry? Adding one sin for each out of focus shot.
Well, okay, rude.
So why is Ekrocoaster there? When did he get there? And why not use Henry, an actual character in the game? Here we go again. Where is this? Where are we? It's hard to tell if we are watching from Ekrocoaster's point of view. If we were seeing Ekrocoaster's view, why would he be zooming around the room constantly? How did Bendy even get here? I'm gonna assume that thing Bendy is standing on is supposed to be some sort of ink supporting tower thing. Adding a sin because it was poorly executed. That denoising. What were those random white planes? Inspired by Big Hero 6.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
Especially since they put him through a sin treatment more than once. Because of this, Ethan wasn't really liked all that much by Enchanted Mob's base, most just seeing Ekrocoaster as an Enchanted Mob copycat.
Totally no inspiration for this scene.
But interestingly enough, Enchanted Mob would try and invite Ekrocoaster to be an animator for 3A Display, which is another animation side project that was founded by Enchanted Mob. You'll notice that they have a lot of like side channels and prodigy projects that all just do the same shit. Ekrocoaster was just 15 years old at the time, and the contract with 3A Display made stipulations that were not reasonable. For example, Ethan would have to only post to 3A Display, being barred from posting anything he animated to his own channel. After denying the offer, Ethan was invited into the Zam and Enchanted Mob private Discord community, and found that they had been making fun of him and bad-mouthing him in private. Why Zach would invite this kid into a server full of references to shooting his avatar and bad-mouthing him all over this chat? Beyond me, but it got progressively more and more unhinged. At some point, Enchanted Mob used an outro song that Ekrocoaster used for his own videos. and then try to flip it on Ethan as proof that he was copying their videos. This whole little bitch fit about a song isn't really that important, it's just kind of dumb Discord beef, but what it leads to is Zach Bellinger mocking this 15-year-old. Which of your videos do you want them to send next? We were thinking Fun Time Dance Floor maybe, then all of the babies story stuff. Asking you a question is not targeting, LOL. I did unsubscribe though, just being honest. I can see Seth's screen like, lol. What are you trying to do? I really don't care, please leave me alone. So all of this bad-mouthing Ethan, making videos that target his animations and labeling Ekrocoaster a copycat, just being a fucking bully in general was all over just not wanting to join 3A display and a fucking outro song. Yes, this is really fucking dumb. What's even more interesting, and this is a factor that no one I've seen cover this ever even mentions, Zach is like my age now. So when all of this went down, Zach was like 17, 18, bullying a 15-year-old. He wasn't like an older CEO adult picking on some random kid in the community. This was a senior in high school at the oldest and a sophomore in high school at the youngest, having Discord beef over a fucking outro song. And all of this went on for about a year. One of the reasons Ethan decided to come out about this obviously was because the people that he looked up to and admired bullied him for literally no reason. And they bullied this kid, one of their fans, out of the animation community due to petty teenage bullshit. But also, with the explosion in its popularity, Poppy Playtime seems to have taken some concept ideas from Ekrocoaster's game Venge. And while I do have my sympathies for Ethan, and the bullying that he got from people that he looked up to, it's pretty heartbreaking to read. I have to say that the whole Venge thing, it's kind of weak, I'm not gonna lie.
This message concludes the emergency broadcast. Goodbye.
To make things even more spicy, Ethan would go on Twitter and make a thread pointing out similarities between Poppy Playtime and his developmental project, Venge. Venge is a game about exploring an abandoned movie studio, whose entire staff disappears one day. You explore the abandoned studio and find a bunch of puppet characters living in this abandoned facility. Now, Venge since then has been updated with a 2.0 remaster, so comparing the two games now with the remaster won't suffice because so much has changed since then. Ethan would provide examples of stolen ideas from Venge that appear in Poppy Playtime. And I'm gonna be so for real with you, it's pretty petty and stupid. Look, I get it. These guys had beef in the past, and with the timing of the game's releases, it's understandable why Ekrocoaster would think that there's some sort of plagiarism going on, especially given previous harassment. But are we seriously going to say that a mouth with jagged teeth and red lips is an original idea? Are we seriously going to say that exploring abandoned facilities and finding spooky lore is an original idea? If you play both games, there's obviously a massive difference. This led to a lot of folks assuming that Ethan just did this to launch his game off of Poppy Playtime with a plagiarism controversy, and I don't personally think that's the case, and Ekrocoaster was probably just more emotionally charged in this. But what I find interesting in both of these drama stories is the main feuding point is the same. They're both pointing the finger and accusing the other of copying off of each other, when in reality they're both just kind of copying off of Bendy and the Ink Machine. And again, I know that Zach presents himself as a CEO, and a lot of his behavior is pretty unprofessional, but that's just because, you know, he was 17 fighting with a 15-year-old. I don't think this is something to like hashtag cancel Poppy Playtime over, especially since Zach Bellinger is just the founder of a development company. He's not the game's creative director. He just gave Poppy a platform and the commercial backing to make the project. The real brains behind this operation is Issac Christopherson.
My name is Isaac. I directed Poppy Playtime Chapters 1 and 2, and 1 year ago today, Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 was released to the world.
So, Interestingly enough, Issac Christopherson is the owner of 3A Display, the same 3A Display YouTube channel that tried to sign on Ekrocoaster. Issac too is also an indie animator, posting under the current alias of Issac X. Likely in the same vein as Zam, Issac X's channel was merged as another subsidiary project with Enchanted Mob, as it slowly morphed into Mob Entertainment. Up until June, Issac would post content in a similar vein to Enchanted Mob, until he started working on a new project, an indie horror game. He served as the story's writer and level designer, as well as directing the team at Mob to put together Chapter 1, which released October of 2021. And the impact that Poppy would make was immediate. To give you some background into what the state of indie horror was at the time, Five Nights at Freddy's ended its main line of Scott's games in 2017, with Pizzeria Simulator being the final lore-relevant game for the fans, and then Ultimate Custom Night just kind of being all the characters put into one challenge mode. It's been 4 years since a new title has hit the scene, and sure, FNAF didn't just end entirely. There was still Steel Wool making the VR games in 2019, but that's not new content, it's just rehashed content made in a VR setting. Things were being made in the meantime that were really cool, however, nothing that was like marketable plushie coded, if you know what I mean. Nothing that kids were gonna flock to and demand merchandise of. Nothing that could be called a real series. I mean, I guess there was Hello Neighbor in the meantime, but that game is ass and no one cares. And I don't see kids wanting a Baldi's plushie the same way that they're begging mommy and daddy for a Ban Ban plushie. And again, it's not like there's nothing coming out at this point, but people were wondering if the phenomenon of Freddy's and indie horror exploding could be replicated again. Could we see something like that rise that quickly in popularity and garner that much hype and praise? Or was FNAF a one-time phenomenon? While the community hype and theory speculation will never be the exact same as it was with FNAF, Poppy's definitely had some interesting potential, starting with Chapter 1. We're introduced to a highly interactive doll called Poppy. You can comb her hair without risk of tangling, shine her shoes, and she'll have full-on conversations with you, as Funtime Company's most interactive toy. The infomercial also advertises tours of the Funtime factory before cutting to a room with a poppy flower painted on the wall. This commercial opens up the game, but we're shown that it's been sent to the player via a VHS tape, with a note urging us to find the flower, and everyone thinks the staff disappeared 10 years ago. We're still here. Right away, we get some themes going into the game, with the basic synopsis of the chapter reading: as an ex-employee of Playtime Co., you finally return to the factory many years after everybody within disappeared. So we got human-like toys that are probably alive, an abandoned toy factory where the entire staff disappears, and creepy VHS tapes that reveal the history of the company. And also, we need to find a flower. So far, I'm intrigued. Funtime Co. is our main setting and evil corporation of the series. Think of this as our Fazbear Entertainment, our Murkoff, our Lethal Company, as you will. Originally founded by Elliot Ludwig, then succeeded by Leith Pierre. Names you will learn about by going through the factory and finding these VHS tapes. Since the tapes and mystery lore are collectibles that you have to actively search for, the actual lore breakdown will have to be saved for after we discuss what happens in the game. So for now, it's just gonna be held off until later. The Playtime factory has since then been abandoned. The paintings on the walls of characters and mascots are chipping away with age. The place is trashed with destroyed toy boxes and security checkpoints being toppled and destroyed. Yet within the ruins of this place, you find a perfectly intact grab pack, which is Playtime Co.'s exclusive tech that, for the life of me, I cannot find a reason for. Basically, it's a backpack grappling hook, long-range grabby thing, but it's also a fire gun, and it can conduct electricity and can launch you like 10 feet in the air. Why a toy factory would make something like this? I don't fucking know. I understand that the dark and hidden lore of Poppy Playtime is that the factory is a front for experimentation, but I mean, I just don't see where in a toy factory this realistically would ever be the thing for regular employees to use, let alone it being created in the 80s, apparently. As cool as I think the Pact is in like concept and like functionality with the puzzles in gameplay, it is really cool. It does stretch the reality for me that I have to already stretch to believe the lore of this story. In terms of it existing during the time frame in which all of this is supposedly taking place. Basically what I'm saying is it's a cool gameplay mechanic, but functionality within the story, it's kind of dumb. The hands are swappable with different colors representing different capabilities. The orange hand in the form of a gun shoots fire pellets like a gun. The blue and red dual palms are for long-range grabbing and grappling, as well as opening grab pack scans for doors. Oh, and for swinging around gaps in the factory like Spider-Man. The green hands are for electric conduction, and the purple hand launches you in the air. In this chapter, we find the red and blue matching hands to open security doors. Our main threat for the chapter is probably the most popular mascot that gets the most attention and spotlight than, you know, the doll that this game is named after, and that is Huggy Wuggy. Huggy Wuggy is gonna get his own section because from a concept and design perspective to even how he is implemented in the chapter, I really, really like this guy. So, let's talk about Huggy Wuggy.
His name is Huggy. Huggy Wuggy, when he hugs you, he'll never stop. Your friend Huggy. Huggy Wuggy, he'll squeeze you until you pop.
Huggy Wuggy is first introduced in the centerpiece room of the Playtime Co. factory. Created in 1984 by Elliot Ludwig himself, Huggy was the most popular toy to come out of Playtime Co., becoming the company's mascot, hence the giant Huggy statue. His plaque reads, Playtime Co. has designed hundreds of distinct toys, but none connected with people more than that of Huggy Wuggy. Our founder, Elliot Ludwig, aimed to create a toy which could hug you forever. As is always true, Playtime Co.'s 4-step process to creating the most lifelike toys was a success. With a bit of string and polyester, our lovable blue pal Huggy was brought to life. Huggy Wuggy has gone on to be Playtime Co.'s most popular and best-selling toy so far. When it comes to the creation of monsters in horror, there's a lot of aspects that contribute to making their fear factor and their presence effective. But all of these different horror villains are stretched across the spectrum in terms of fear factor that what actually makes them scary is individualized and unique to said character. However, if we are to boil all of these horror villains down to what they all have in common, they all have these 3 core elements that are the most important in getting a monster right. A great design, how it behaves, so how it walks, talks, and moves, and an effective first appearance. We can apply these 3 elements to Huggy Wuggy and get a sense at how he fits the model. His design is so simple and looks so non-threatening, but when they make him an actual threat, it's fucking perfect. The build up to Huggy becoming this monster is so well executed. When we first see him, we're thinking he's just a statue, and although it is, there's weird, ominous things that start happening around him, like giving the player a key or disappearing as soon as we're not in the room. The collectible tapes reveal that Huggy's boxes and toys have been going missing en masse on the premises, making you wonder if these things have a tendency to go missing, and if they do, where do they go? And the entire time, you've been noticing these weird noodle-like arms guiding you around, pulling itself around corners quick enough that you might not have even noticed. And then, finally, as you approach what looks to be the next area, he emerges from the darkness, towering over you and geared with a new set of teeth. He walks hunched over to adjust for his height, and the only thing that fundamentally changes is his mouth. That's it, and somehow it really works. He's not even really that scary beforehand. I think he actually looks really cute and goofy, but then he just becomes this, and it's horrifying. I'm just in awe with this thing. The only part of Huggy Wuggy I don't really like is his voice.
Does someone need a hug? Give me a big squeeze. I promise I won't bite.
I just don't think it really fits. Honestly, when I look at Huggy, whenever I think of like what this thing should sound like, I think of Meatwad for some reason.
He made me in his own image.
This chapter also gives us another effective scare to Huggy Wuggy with a claustrophobic chase scene. We escape Huggy as the scaffolding collapses and he falls to seemingly his demise. Another terrifying aspect of not just Huggy, but seemingly all of the other toys as well, they all have blood. They're like living creatures. And you'll see this by the end of chapter 4. Huggy is being kept together with bandages and rope that are just covered in blood and stuffing. This thing is alive. This can also be seen with this Poppy Playtime maintenance video, posted to Mob Entertainment's own YouTube channel. In it, we see the maintenance protocol to inspect and perfect the Poppy Playtime dolls. In it, we see the maintenance protocol to inspect and perfect the Poppy dolls before being sold. The final steps, which are skipping all over the place and barely in order to begin with, shows a pair of pliers reaching behind the back of a Poppy doll before ripping out this voice box. You can see Poppy is covered in blood. Speaking of Poppy, we finally find the Poppy flower and enter a weirdly homey-like room. Contrasting with the rest of the factory being gray, industrial, and destroyed, this part of the factory just looks like my grandma's house. Poppy is displayed just like the Annabelle doll, so you know that bodes well. And opening it will probably lead to bad things for us in the future. Overall, there's not a ton going on in chapter 1. This is very much an opener type of game if I've ever seen it. It's made to give us a basic rundown of what we're about to get into. The basics of the mechanics, the fact that this is a horror puzzle game with the grab pack being our main tool to solve the puzzles. I guess there's also this like weird machine that looks something out of a Jim Henson universe that makes the Bee Cat toy, but like, it doesn't really play into the other chapters, so it doesn't really matter. The only significance it has is with Elliot Ludwig and the lore, which again, I am saving for much, much later. For now, as a horror entry and a game, this is relatively short, but there's a reason why it blew up the way it did. For a short game title and a first chapter, A Tight Squeeze is a great little horror game. It makes its mechanics clear and easy to understand. There's an interesting gimmick with the grab pack and it being like a puzzle horror game, but also an environmental exploration game. There's hidden tapes that you can find for interesting lore tidbits. The monster is fantastic with great build-up and a worthy execution. The chase is intense and claustrophobic. The animations and environments are great. It's like Chucky, but on a large scale. It's really well done. Like, it's no wonder this chapter did so well. With Let's Players picking it up, word spreading really fast, and the fact that it was free to play but had such high quality for a free game. In the wise words of Bjorn Ironside, the Huggy Wuggy Ooh monster ate my ass and made me fall out of my seat. 10 out of 10, worth my money. Thank you, Bjorn Ironside. But yeah, I think this is a really neat little horror game. There's no wonder this popped off as big as it did. For something cheap in like 20 minutes, there's a lot of effort and care here, and it's a worthy contender to the mascot horror craze. Perfectly fitting in and feeding into the niche that people had been hoping to get another big title. And when Mob Entertainment released what they created, they did not hesitate to make a lot of money.
Money, motherfucker.
As any smart business would do when they create a successful product, Mob was quick to capitalize off of their precious pride and joy. And you know what? I 100% agree. Buy my merch! Give me your money!
Give me your money.
Join my Patreon and get exclusive discount codes on your entire order. That includes shipping costs, by the way. Since their horror game is based on toys coming to life and killing you, it only makes sense to, well, actually make those toys in real life. Except they don't kill you. You know, I think that would be really bad for marketing. And to their credit, some of these plushies based on the actual plushies that exist in universe is actually really, really cool. Except for a Killy Willy. Low-key, this is just borderline blackface. It's Huggy Wuggy, but he can say the N-word. Never gets old. Never gets old. The joke never gets old. Weirdly, they also have a plushie of the player, and it's just this. I don't even know what this is. Also, who the fuck is Poe? What the fuck is this? Apparently, it's part of a line of toys called the Nightmare Critters, and he's supposed to be like a raven, but like, this is not a raven. This looks like a man that wants to touch me. One of the more controversial decisions that Mob made during the rise of Poppy Playtime's popularity was to sell, alongside the release of Chapter 2, an NFT line.
Oh, NFTs! That's something I haven't heard in years!
Now, although in recent years this fad has long since run its course and everyone criticized it to death for being overpriced, stupid, customizable characters in a dress-up Who game, but you have to pay for it, and also it's just bad for the environment or something. Meanwhile, I'm just over here barely understanding how this shit worked at all, and just going along with the notion that this sucked and I hated it. Because, low-key, this monkey art is so bad. This sucks. And also, why pay for a PNG image when I can just take a screenshot of it and save it to my phone? But yeah, anyways, the point being that this was a fad of the times. Everybody and your favorite YouTuber was making NFTs, so it's not like this is the worst thing in the world. I do remember when this first started back in the day though, and how so many people were boycotting Poppy Playtime entirely because of just this. Over digital posters. And I'm just like, dude, I just don't fucking care. Listen, when you make a product, you either capitalize off of the success and make a bunch of money off of your hard work, or you let some asshole scalpers do it. Pick your poison. Poppy Playtime immediately got the knockoff treatment as soon as this thing hit the market. And some of the knockoffs are the funniest things I have ever seen. You know those weird, like, dancing cactuses that repeat everything that they hear in a high-pitched voice and makes, like, babies laugh and shit? Well, here's one, but it's Huggy Wuggy for some reason. Here's Huggy Wuggy as a Muppet, and it's terrifying. Someone made these weird plastic figurines, and not only are their faces, well, that, but also, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Poppy. Like, whatever face they give her, it looks like she's been hitting that fence. Here's one of those flipping octopus things, but it's Huggy and Pink Huggy on the other side. I know she has a name, but I'm just gonna be calling her Pink Huggy for the entirety of this video. And here is Pink Huggy again, but for some reason, the advertisement for this toy is urging the customer to punch her for some reason. No idea what the fuck this thing even is. But anyways, that's the merch. Honestly, I think the quality of the Poppy Playtime official merch is pretty solid. It's fortunate that those behind the project are at least somewhat competent in character design, because I think most of the characters of Poppy Playtime are just built to be marketable, which, I mean, it makes sense. They are toys, after all. That's kind of the whole fucking point. But as we go into Chapter 2, we're gonna start seeing this means for marketing and having sellable characters become more and more of a priority than, say, well, I don't know, telling a compelling story.
It's been so long.
When going into making the next chapter, the creatives were in for a new challenge. With how successful and hyped Chapter 1 was, they were basically dealing with the rise of a phenomenon. In just under half an hour, Poppy Playtime made itself a household name, and so now those over at Mob need to step things up. Chapter 2 needed to be bigger, longer, have more gameplay, more puzzles, more lore, and more characters. The next chapter, along with the following chapters, would give us a new cast of characters to get acquainted with for each chapter, with Poppy being the only consistent character. You know, because the name is called Poppy Playtime.
I'm the main character, and you have to like me.
But this will bring up an issue with Poppy Playtime's narrative structure that I'm gonna bring up now, since once you see it, you're never gonna unsee it. Each chapter of Poppy Playtime going forward introduces us to a new toy line that serves as the centerpiece for the chapter. For chapter 2, it's this Stretch Armstrong woman called Mommy Longlegs. In the upcoming chapter 3, it's the Smiling Critters, and then in chapter 4, it's Doughy the Dough Man. But here comes the issue, because there's also all of these other characters that get introduced as side characters. The Smiling Critters is an entire crew of like 8 new characters. Mommy Longlegs has a bunch of crazy characters in her chapter, like the Symbols Bunny Guy and the Dog Caterpillar thing, and Pink Huggy Wuggy, and apparently there's these other characters that just don't make an appearance at all, but also exist in universe, like Daddy Longlegs and this fucking stupid ass baby. Look, Playtime Co. is a company that has been around for a long time, so it does make sense that they've made this many different toy lines and sell many different products. So all of these characters, all existing in the same factory, does make sense. But narrative-wise, this is so much stuff. There's too much stuff and not enough space. In an effort to keep up with this gimmick of introducing new characters as the sort of face for each chapter, what they've done is create too many characters that you barely remember and never pop up again. So many characters like Brawn and Boogiebot and Bunzo just kind of get forgotten about because of how little they're given any real screen time or attention. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't even know who any of these characters are. They are characters in the game with in-game models and merch. They must matter somewhat, but nothing is ever really done with any of them. It's just an excuse to make more characters to sell toys of, not really to build on these characters and give them any distinct personality that sticks with the player. Most of the characters are just here for marketing of new merch. And after introducing all of these characters, you kind of just forget who the hell everyone is. They all just kind of start blending into each other and feeling like the same character. Poppy and Huggy might be the only standouts because, well, this game is named after Poppy, so it's kind of the whole point. And the chase sequence in the first chapter was so well executed, how could you forget Huggy Wuggy after that? That thing was crazy. I love that guy. And you know what we should do? You know what would make me love him even more? If you just kept doing that whole chase sequence bit over and over and over again for each chapter. So the other gimmick outside of just giving us way too many characters is that the other chapters tried to one-up the first chase sequence from the last game. Given how intense and chaotic that whole sequence was, and honestly why a lot of people were impressed by the first chapter, they just decide that every chapter has to have something just like that, but with a different character each time, and they get progressively more and more uninteresting. For instance, in this chapter, the final chase is with Mommy Longlegs herself, and it ends with her getting grindered to death. Yes, that's all well and good, it works, but it's just this chase sequence, again, just not as claustrophobic, not as high intensity, and the build-up is just not that great. The build-up of the first game was all silent-like. It's just little hints up until the big reveal. Whilst here, it's kind of sprung up on you out of nowhere, and Mommy gives you a 10-second head start to get some distance.
10, 9, 7, 6.
But we can ignore this problem for now. I need to tell you what happens. So chapter 2 picks up right where the last chapter ended. We opened Poppy's case, it's empty now, and the light's got that red spooky Halloween bulb. We follow the halls down to the office of Elliot Ludwig, where we find a tape and a note. The tapes, again, will be held off for later, but the note is something I did want to read. Experiment 814. Notes. This experiment utilizes a live rat. Rat was fed 3 portions daily for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, the rat was killed and submerged into a poppy flour and preservation gel mixture. 1 week later, an electric shock was applied to the rat, still in the gel, in an attempt to revive it. The rat remained unresponsive. Analysis. I still believe in the potential of the poppy flower. Its unusual properties lead me to believe that the proper mixture and procedure could have life-altering properties. The poppy flower has for a long time carried heavy symbolism, and I don't believe that's for no reason. Perhaps something larger than a rat would yield different results. So, Now we have a new theme. In addition to killer toys and mass disappearances, resurrection, apparently. For now, we are formally introduced to Poppy Playtime herself.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to scare you.
And interestingly enough, despite giving massive Annabelle vibes at first, she's actually really friendly. Which, you know, is a relief given the whole... that. So I guess it's nice to have a living toy that doesn't want us dead. She's actually willing to help us get through the train station. We just need to get the train code, which is all well and good until... So, since I gave Huggy its flowers and a dedicated section to explore what makes him so scary, it's only fair to do it with Mommy Longlegs. Because I'm not sexist. So, let's talk about Mommy Longlegs. Mommy Longlegs is a 90s toy launched with the rest of the Longlegs family. She's the main antagonist of this chapter, and there are some things that go into her character that do make her somewhat creepy. In terms of design, I think Mommy Longlegs is like fine, although I don't think that she's as effective in comparison to Huggy Wuggy. Everything about Huggy doesn't give threat, but when he is a threat, it's unexpected and a complete subversion of your expectations. Mommy Longlegs is already giving the impression that she's supposed to be threatening.
Mommy heard that Miss Poppy was going to just give you the train code to escape. Now, how is that fun?
She kidnaps Poppy in the beginning, which definitely props her up to be the antagonist, but that's all she really gives us. An opponent to defeat. I mean, sure, she's a luring presence throughout the chapter, constantly watching you and forcing you through these mini-games meant to kill you, like a puppet master controlling the strings of the game. However, she's not really scary in the sense that we're afraid that this thing is alive. That's kind of worn off at this point. We're just kind of expecting it now. But writing her dialogue like this...
Obey the rules, or I'll tear you apart and eat your insides while you're still alive.
doesn't effectively make her scary either. Rather edgy and full of fluff.
And if you win all 3 games, I'll give you the train code. Mommy loves that idea, Puppy.
The one aspect that they got right is how Mommy Longlegs is animated. Given that she's a stretchy toy, she has the scare factor of impossible limb lengths, and also looking like a spider. But I think what made people fearful of Mommy Longlegs is her backstory and its implications. So I'm sure you've probably realized this, but Playtime Co. clearly is more than just a toy factory. Yeah, no shit. It's a front for human toy experimentation. This is gonna explore a little bit of lore, but I will be saving the full breakdown for much later. This is just a brief aside. In short, Elliot Ludwig had a tragic passing in his family, his own daughter.
In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. How did he manage to stay determined even after suffering such a tragic loss?
Through his belief in the poppy flower possessing the ability to resurrect the dead, he was able to get his daughter back in the form of a poppy doll.
I wish you were here, Dad. I could really use one of your talks right about now. You know what to say. When you were running this place, you always knew what to say. I miss you.
All of these giant toys that we see as enemies in the game are human-toy hybrid experiments, and Mommy Longlegs is no different. Throughout Chapter 2, we are able to find reports that give background information on Mommy Longlegs. Most important to this section is the fact that she had a designated name besides Mommy Longlegs, Marie Payne. Mommy Longlegs has the unique ability to stretch any of her limbs for several hundred feet. This includes her fingers, arms, arms, hair, neck, waist, and legs. She's very hostile towards the staff, but is very motherly and acts warmly towards the other experiments. She is protective of them. The hostility is quickly becoming problematic, but perhaps there is a solution to put her in her place. Mommy Longlegs would be perfect for facilitating everything with the children in the game station. She has the warmth that a mother should, and any rowdy children can learn and listen to their mother. It makes sense that her seeing these children daily would improve her behavior, and it is very unlikely she will act out in front of the children. Have her transferred to high security maintenance immediately. Conditioning can begin. In the first chapter, there's a specific poster that talks about a Playtime adoption initiative, meaning that this giant game station area with playgrounds and mini games were meant for entertaining children, more specifically, orphans that lived at Playtime Co. Marie was a child part of this adoption initiative. This is confirmed through an interactive ARG that was created to tease Chapter 3, which we can discuss in greater detail later. Elliot Ludwig believes in resurrection through toys, so it's theorized that Marie Payne was most likely killed and resurrected through Mommy Longlegs. So this really is just Chucky but on a mass scale. The backstory of Mommy Longlegs reveals the underbelly of Playtime Co. and the true motives of the company. Resurrections through toys and child experimentation. Learning this through discovery does make Mommy's conception somewhat mortifying in a sympathetic way, making her more of a tragic monster. But does that inherently make her scary? Well, I guess her being violent around adults is pretty messed up and, understandable given what Playtime co-staff did to her, but I think that's inherently what makes this company scary, not Mommy herself. I mean, the existence of all of the toy monsters is the inherent horror of Playtime Co., but something with Mommy, I don't know, something is still not, clicking for me. Mommy Longlegs has a mixed reception in the community. Some say that she's absolutely terrifying, others saying that she's not. Some claim she's better than other monsters in the series, which I think goes a little too far. For me, Mommy Longlegs is a cool character. She's just not a good horror villain. And the reason why I personally feel this way is because...
Oh, you did it.
What are the signs and symptoms of bipolar disorder that...
She's just so fucking corny. There was a subtlety and build-up with a well-executed reveal to Huggy Wuggy, and he didn't need yandere psychobabble to show that he's scary. The only thing that makes Mommy Longlegs scary is that she is understandably scary. Yeah, of course I'm afraid of the living spaghetti doll saying that she wants to rip my insides out of me. Of course that's fucking scary, but it's also it's a 13-year-old writing a creepypasta character for the first time. The scare factor of this character is hitting me in the face like a brick. I don't mean to keep making comparisons to Huggy Wuggy. It might not even be entirely fair because, clearly they're going for something completely different. But, given that both chapters end the exact same with a chase sequence, Mommy Longlegs just feels like Mob was trying to recreate Huggy Wuggy without understanding what made him so special. The chase wasn't just something to copy, paste, and hope that it works the same. The context of how we interact with these monsters are completely different. When you first meet Huggy, he's just a face. A goofy, silly head of the company, immortalized by a harmless display. But then he disappears. And then you're seeing glimpses of something long and blue shifting in the dark. And after a while of wondering, how the fuck did that giant statue disappear? It towers over you, alive and hunting. And the realization hits you that, oh shit, this thing wants me dead. Mommy Longlegs doesn't have that. She makes it very well known her intentions. Hell, even a lot of her positive elements kind of work against her in ways. As, although I think her looming over the entire chapter is ominous, it's too much exposure. You see her too much in well-lit environments like this, it takes away from her aura of mystery altogether. Overall, Mommy Longlegs has a lot going for her, but herself and her chapter has to improve from this. And I just don't think that she meets the mark. I mean, frankly, I find Bunzo more terrifying with his symbols of impending doom. The way Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 expands on its gameplay length in bringing more content worthy of the $10 price tag is by bringing players down to Mommy's domain of the game station. Here, we have to complete 3 minigames that Mommy is hosting in the intent to kill the player. The 3 minigames being Wuggy, Musical Memory, and Statue. Wuggy is exactly what you think it is. Little Wuggy dolls coming out of holes in the walls and you slap them in the face to make them go away.
Oh god, I'm dead.
Look really closely at the top left corner of Mark's hair. You can see this tiny strand that pokes out.
Musical Memory is a quick little memory game with Bunzo luring over you, slamming his symbols of impending doom. Finally, Statues is a red light, green light game, except you're being followed by this thing, and you can only move when it's dark. I think all of these minigames do have elements that would put a player on edge. Musical Memory relying on quick thinking and the pressure of the impending symbols of doom, but it's still pretty easy. Wuggy is just fucking obnoxious. There's like a bunch of holes in the wall with Huggy crawling out of every hole, and the stupid hand pack does not move fast enough to accommodate all of them coming after you. Not to mention, before this got fixed with a patch, the room this minigame took place in used to be pitch black. It was so fucking dark you couldn't see jack shit.
It's so dark, it's so dark, it's so dark!
This was easily the most annoying part of the game. At least Statues was somewhat more of an easier time, except the ending was a trap actually, and it took me like a second to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. But after each minigame failed to kill the player, Mommy decides, no more Mr. Nice Mommy, Mrs. Nice. No more Mr. Nice Guy, and chases you around until she's grinded to death. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wasn't aware that the other mother was apparently lurking around a toy factory. I guess Coraline crushing it with a rock wasn't enough.
I don't like this rock. It's pissing me off.
Now, I know what y'all might be thinking. What the actual fuck was that? This is the prototype. The secret main evil, maybe, that is sort of worshipped as a god for some of the experiments. We actually first hear of this thing in a tape in Chapter 1, mentioning an experiment 1006.
Final log. In relation. Experiment 1006. The prototype. Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments of his type. Though still missing, today's events are no doubt in relation to him. His absence was a flaw in the scientific process, which should have under no circumstances been left unaccounted for. That's why I'm making this log, so that the same mistake won't be made twice. Any future experiments will need to be contained and disposed of in a secure location. I'm not worried about myself. One breakthrough and I'll be back. We must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not. End of...
But anyways, as we've been playing through these minigames, slowly we've been collecting the input code to start up the train. After we free Poppy from her confinement, she boards us and monologues about how we're too perfect to lose.
I was so scared she'd put me back in that case. But you saved me. You're perfect. Too perfect to lose. I'm sorry. I can't let you leave.
So I guess Poppy's a fibber. She wasn't ever gonna let us go. Not until we right the wrongs here. You know, honestly, Poppy, that just kind of sounds like a you problem. I don't know why you gotta include me in all of this. I'm getting off of this crazy train. No, I didn't mean like that. When creating a sequel game, the same rules apply if you're gonna put out a good movie sequel. Expansion of the universe, callbacks to important themes and elements from the first, and new characters that play important roles in the story. And when looking at Poppy Playtime Chapter 2, yeah, it all clicks the same boxes just fine, but there's a lot that still holds it back. Upon release, it got a mixed reception with players finding numerous game-breaking bugs, lag spikes, frame rate irregularities, and even an audio glitch where if you are killed in-game, the audio for the entire game just breaks. The grab pack also is incredibly buggy at times, and this especially is a problem with some of the mini-games that require quick-time events like Whack-A-Wuggy and musical memory. The game used to be $5 upon release, which I actually think for what we have now that the game is all patched up, is a fine price, especially since the game is labeled as DLC content on Steam, but now it's $10 fucking. What's with the price hike? What, just because you fix some bugs, that means that Mob can just tack on another $5 extra for doing their job? You know, the bare minimum of fixing shit that should have been fixed before the launch of their game? Not to mention, with Chapter 1's success amongst, you know, child audiences, the sequel chapter is seemingly playing into that child demographic more and more, to a point that the game really is starting to just be like a kiddie's first horror game. Overall, in terms of content, story, and gameplay length, and how much bigger this is than the first chapter, they did succeed in at least outdoing themselves from the first title. But what it really boils down to is less is more. I remember the first chapter so well. Not just because my memory is fried and I can only handle things in 10-second intervals because my attention span is dog shit and my brain is mush, but because Chapter 1 didn't need to do that much to make an impact. Chapter 2 is trying too many things, and it makes it hard to have a hardcore memorable moment when playing this game. Really, I just wish it was better. But for a chapter installment, it's just kind of okay. And you know, given the strong start of the first chapter, just being okay is not great. Maybe they just set themselves too high. Maybe this was a one-hit wonder team of developers that took the one best shot they had, is what I would be saying if Chapter 3 wasn't so good.
Experiment 1188. First conversation.
Are you